Christina here, and today's video we're going to go step by step on the LinkedIn profile and give you guys tricks and tips in order to really optimize your LinkedIn profile. So the first portion that I want to start with is what we would like to call the introduction section. So it's things like your headline photo and your background, it's your headshot and your name and things like that. For your headshot, you can do a couple of different things. However, I usually recommend taking a picture outside in, when it's sunny or overcast, so it has really nice lighting to it. If you can do it with a background with like trees or flowers or something like that, I think it gives a lot of interest and engagement in your photo. The thing that you could do is something that I do on my profile. Instead of having a background that's, something outside, I actually do a colored background. I matched it here to my headline photo to make it a little bit more cohesive. And the reason I did that is that when you're scrolling through your newsfeed, it stands out a little bit more when you see a colored background instead of a background that's either outside or something that's already with the photo. It gives a little bit more of contrast to your photo. So for your name, make sure to obviously put your name correctly on here and make sure it's spelled correctly. If you go by a nickname or your middle name, you can just go ahead and put it in quotations like I have here. I go by Christina, but my first name is not Christina. The next part you want to do is your headline. Headline is important because your headline, that is what is searchable for keywords. So if an employer or a recruiter is on LinkedIn trying to find someone that has Excel, for example, then you might want to put Excel inside of your headline. There is a couple of different ways you can do this. One way is if you make a list of all the jobs that you're really interested in, look at the keywords that are popping up in the job title. Those are job titles that you might want to put in your own headline. You might be able to put either a position that you're in or you can put some skills. I've done a little bit of a combination of both here. So for example, mine says, career coach empowering students to find where their passion and skills align, connecting students with recruiters, resume guru, data analyst, and content creator. So that's a whole bunch of couple of different things that I do in my own job. I'm using keywords and terminology that is very much in line with the industry that I'm in. The next section of your LinkedIn profile that I want to talk about is your about section. Some people like to call it a summary section, but really what it is a place for you to talk about, to either tell a story or tell your journey with what are your career interests, what are your accomplishments, and highlight a couple of things in your experiences that you want them to be able to see in a very quick and short way. I put a couple of different highlights on mine. So I talked about my years of experience. I talked about my goals. What are my really main duties, as well as here are my biggest accomplishments that I'm really proud of. As you're starting off on your LinkedIn profile, it's okay if you don't have a lot of information. You can just say what you're interested in doing and what kind of experience or skill sets that you already have. The next section of your LinkedIn profile that I want to talk about is your experience section. And what I would arguably say is one of the most important sections in your LinkedIn. And the reasoning is that this is where you get to highlight all of your different jobs and experiences and really give some measurable outcomes of how you were able to impact each opportunity. So for example, here I have put a couple of different roles. Again, you can see that I've added bullet points to help separate the material and the information. I use strong action verbs like create, increase, manage, analyze, and plan, these types of things in order to really show what I'm actually doing. I was able to give some quantitative data, which percentages and plays and the numbers and things like that, so that it gives a little bit more context to the reader and the recruiter to be able to understand what I did in this opportunity. You can put all of your experiences here. Unlike a resume, LinkedIn, you can put unlimited with all the different types of opportunities and experiences onto your profile. You can add links and things like that if that is appropriate. And there's a couple different ways that you can do this. So one is you can either list it like I did here, where it's a list of all the different types of things and accomplishments that I did. If you're in a role that does a lot of different things, you can break up that material. So for example, here I put in, based on event planning accomplishments, career services accomplishments, and additional duties. If you were an intern, you can there's an overview section of everything, kind of the day-to-day things that you did, and then go into your achievements. So for example, maybe you don't have that much experience and you were in a very entry-level internship. That's perfectly okay. So for example, here is I just wrote a couple of bullet points down of my main duties and, things like assistant and aide and completed these requests and things like that. Those are very simple ways to describe what I did. Maybe because I didn't work there that long or because it was a very entry-level internship. That's okay. Everybody experience section is different, and it's really catered to your needs and based on your own experience. So take some time in order to figure out how you want to build your own experience section. And if you're just starting out, it's definitely okay to copy and paste your experience from your resume to your LinkedIn for now, and then you can focus on tailoring your LinkedIn later based on the industry or niche that you're trying to get into. Section of your LinkedIn profile is your education section. Your education section is super important because this is the best way for you to be able to find connections on LinkedIn that are either alumni or mutual connections based on where you went to school. So you can list your degrees, any activities that you did, clubs and organizations. You can add your GPA here, any honors like scholarships, Dean's List, honor roll, and things like that. This is a great place to put it. And then once you've graduated from there, or if you want to give back, you can always find other people who went to that school, current students at that school, or things like that on LinkedIn. Another thing you can do if you want to is you can link to your high school. Some people like to be affiliated with their high school so they can give back to other students in that community, or just to be able to engage other alumni. Education is a great way to be able to connect and find people on LinkedIn because you can search by being an alum of that university or that school or college. And it's a good way for you to be able to find other people that are like you because you went through the same experiences or things like that. After your education section, a section that you can add is volunteer experience. So maybe you don't have a lot of internship or part-time jobs or those type of opportunities, but you've done a lot of volunteer work. That could be either volunteering at a specific organization, volunteering with a club, or things like that. This is a great place to put this information. You can list it exactly like you would your experience section by adding some bullet points and some outcomes and things like that. It could be volunteer work that you did for your local church or a different institution or a different nonprofit. These are great ways to be able to highlight that. Also, maybe you did leadership at UD and maybe you were on a committee such as Charity Week, or maybe you were an orientation leader. These are great places to put that information and then being able to give some outcomes based on that. So things such as, did you lead a team? Did you coordinate an event? How much money did you raise? How many people did you have to manage? I think this is a great place to put that information that still highlights it in a really important way and demonstrates that you have a little bit of diversity in your experiences. In addition to your volunteer experience, other things that you can add are two really important ones that I think are really great for students. One is license and certifications. So for example, if you're majoring in history and you really want to go into marketing, maybe you've taken some marketing courses on HubSpot, or maybe you even got a certification in it. This is a great place for you to put that, and it highlights it for anybody else to see that you might not have majored in business or marketing, but you're gaining some experiences into the industry as well as some knowledge on how to use platforms and strategies in that specific niche. The other thing you can do is projects. So maybe you're doing a business concentration, or maybe you're doing a journalism concentration. These might be great ways to put projects or team group projects that you've done in class onto your LinkedIn. So especially if you worked with clients or things like that, that's a great place to put it. You would write it exactly like you would your experience section with bullet points, specific action verbs, as well as giving some outcomes when possible. And the greatest thing too is that if you worked on a group project, you can add other people and classmates that you worked on the project with on LinkedIn. The next section is honors and awards. This section is really great if you maybe won Employee of the Month. Maybe you were nominated for something. Maybe you won a team project or a speech competition and things like that. This is a great place to put all of that information to show people and recruiters and people who look at your profile that you are getting recognized in your area and in your niche for the work that you've done. If you're involved in some external organizations, maybe this could be the Law Association or the Bar Association. It could be an English society and things like that that are associated with other national chapters. A great place to put that is in your organizations tab. You can link it out to certain organizations and you can add, were you a member? Were you in a point of leadership or an officer? So one of the sections that you can really get a lot out of is recommendation. Recommendations are a great way to be able to highlight your work and your accomplishments. So asking a supervisor or your manager to write a recommendation for you on LinkedIn that anybody could see. It could be about your efforts. It could be about a project that you worked on and led. It could be about your successes, achievements, things like that. This is a great way for a manager or a supervisor to be able to directly show others your impact on what you did in that organization or that project to others. One of the sections that I would arguably say is super important for your LinkedIn profile is your skill section. You can add up to almost 50 skills on LinkedIn, so make sure to utilize all those slots that you can. Obviously, you want to pick skills that you are skilled in and are really relevant to your industry. One of the great things that LinkedIn pushed out was a skills quiz. So if you're trying to show them that you know a particular software like Excel, Word, PowerPoint, it could be Python or R, they have these skill quizzes that you can take. And if you pass them, you get endorsed for that skill badge, which is really great because when you're looking at jobs and job postings on LinkedIn, it will say sometimes about if there's a skill that they're really looking for. And if you match that, it shows that to the recruiter that you're matching a skill that they are looking for in this particular job opportunity. But it also shows to other LinkedIn users and recruiters that you are skilled in that particular software or skill set or things like that. So I would say it's arguably really important, especially because you have to pass a quiz in order to be able to show that badge on your LinkedIn. One of the most important things that you can do on your LinkedIn is look at your interest, and that includes anything from influencers, companies, groups, and schools. And the reason that I really encourage and recommend building out this section is that this is what keeps you in the know of what your industry is or the opportunities that you want to go into. For example, if you're in technology and you want to be able to work in that field, in that sphere, then what you might want to do is follow some CEOs of tech companies, such as YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Canva, for example. These are great ways in order for you to stay in the know of what's happening in your industry and any updates of companies that you might want to work for. Which segues into the next one. Maybe you're really interested in working for a particular company. It could be the Dallas Museum of Art. It could be the American Heart Association. It could be Google. If you follow those types of companies that you're really interested in, you get updates and they appear in your news feed. So it could be things like job opportunities, news updates, new product updates, things like that. That shows up in your feed, and therefore you can like that content, you can comment, you can share. And that just increases your engagement on LinkedIn, but also shows others of what organizations that you're really interested in. The next section that I think is important is groups. So for example, if you are an alum of a particular association, or maybe you're in an association right now, this is a great way to be able to engage with other people that have similar backgrounds to you and similar interests as well. And then finally, schools. You want to be able to either follow schools or connect where you went to school on your LinkedIn account, because you'll be able to engage with that alumni community. You'll be able to see other people that went to that institution or maybe even got the same degree as you. And those are good ways to be able to have a very easy ask of maybe asking for advice, having a coffee chat, and things like that. I hope this video really helped you in order to see each part of the LinkedIn profile and how you can use LinkedIn to the best of your ability to get everything you can in order to be able to connect with other alumni, recruiters, and professionals. If you have any questions, please reach out to our career development office at UD, and make sure to follow us on all of social media channels at UD Career Dev. Thanks, guys.